So I started working with a new client on the cold outbound recently, and the first thing I found, they were paying to email 12,000 people who already unsubscribed from their outreach. 12,000 people. And that wasn't even the expensive lead. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through some common leaks that I find in every cold outbound setup as soon as I start working with a new client and my framework of diagnosing those. Hi guys, Max here. So this video is gonna be about leaks that I find as soon as I start working with a new client on the cold email side of things. And most of the times I apply whenever the client was doing outbound before me, like on their own or with another vendor, and I start diagnosing things that they were doing just to find some like quick wins. But sometimes it applies also if you weren't doing outbound before and you just have like a sales funnel or like whatever, and we start looking there as well. The whole logic is that like I'm hunting quick wins. Because like whenever like you paid me, right, when we started the engagement, I want to find those leaks as soon as possible to make sure that I get back you the money that you paid me and more, even before you pay me second time, right? And because with cold email there is like setup time, right? Amazing way to find it is just look what you already been doing and find quick wins there, like to find the money. So there are actually two ways to find it, right? And let's go through them. So way number one is get the data that you are not even measuring right now. Okay. And I'm going to explain what it means, right? Okay. So get the data that you're not even measuring right now. Way two is reframe the data that you already have. So you have this data, you concluded that it means XYZ, and we are reframing that. You know what I mean? To actually find the money. And let me explain each one of those. So get the data you're not even measuring. For example, let's say you don't track sends per positive reply. You don't track sends per book call. You don't track which audiences convert the best. Like for example, on a cash collected basis. You don't track which segments actually closes deals, right? For example, is it companies that are 1 to 10 employees or like 10 to 20 employees, right? Is there companies that have SDRs in their team, or is it companies that don't? Is it companies that already like doing founder-led sales, or still doing, or the companies that are not doing founder-led sales already? You know what I mean? So which segments actually closes deals? And for this, like you might have this data, you might not have this data, you might need to get this data by enriching those, right? So you're not measuring it, so we go find it, right? And then double down on what wins. So way number one, get the data you're not measuring. Way number two is reframe the data you already have. So for example, let's say you stare at your funnel and see a scary drop off. Let's say you receive a positive every 1,000 cents, which is very bad, but still, like it's not the point here. 1,000 cents, one positive, 20% booked, 70% show, 30% qualified, and 20% closed, right? So you might see this funnel and you might think like, wow, this is scary. Like so many drop off points. It looks like there is no way it can be profitable. But if you are profitable on that, right, and you have to have this data with a great CAC to LTV ratio, why aren't you just scaling that? You know what I mean? And you might think that this is like nobody does it, right? But there are cases like I have started working with clients and they had similar funnel and they weren't scaling that because they thought like, oh, I need to like reduce sales per positive, or I need to increase my book conversions, or I have to increase my close rates or something before scaling. But if you're profitable on the front end and great CAC to LTV ratio, just scale that. You know what I mean? So it reframes the data you already have, basically, as an example here. So in this case, what I will do is 70% into scaling that funnel. The proven winner, just like pour more volume here, basically. The 20% is permuted, like with the small tweaks. Try to reduce them per positive or increase booked conversions or increase close rates, like whatever. And 10% go wild, just like on the bets that you don't believe in, because 70% will like decay, fatigue, get fingerprinted copy or like whatever, and you have to have the next win ready. This mostly applies to like actual campaigns, right? Not the funnel here. So yeah, like those are two ways. Like number one, gets the data you're not even measuring. Number two, reframes the data you already have. Okay, so let's go to actually leaks, right? So those are like example number one when I took over clients outbound, but there are more, like a lot more. I'm gonna walk you through like at least 4 or 5 here, just so you see some examples. Like whenever I start working with a client, what are like some common examples that we actually find. So number one, like I'm just gonna go a bit deeper first on this one. So basically, 12,000 of the 40,000 had unsubscribed from the old offer, and you still email those, right? And this is actually costing you money, right? And that's like essentially what I help this client to save this money, right? So cost number one, you burn your best copy, right? Because the more you send your best copy, the faster it gets fingerprinted, of course, because of the intelligent spam filters in 2026. And yeah, like you just have to redate it eventually, because otherwise you're just gonna burn your entire infrastructure and you're gonna land in spam. So you spend your converting copy on people who never trust you, and that wastes your sense actually, and the thing that actually works. You know what I mean? So essentially, yeah, this is cost number one. Cost number two is you poison the whole infra. So unsubscribers are far likelier to mark you as spam, and that drags every inbox down basically. So then you like have to recycle the infra quickly and have to like actually buy new domains, buy new inboxes, like all this stuff. This is cost number two. So as soon as we started working with the client, I already saved him a bunch of money on this one. And then there is like another reframe on here. When like as soon as you cut those 12,000 out of 40,000, and that same sending capacity now hits people who can actually buy, you move through 27K 30% faster, and then you just get more who haven't unsubscribed yet. You know what I mean? So plugging the leak and scaling are like kind of the same move, and it's like basically opportunity cost, I guess. So yeah, and basically we did those fixes like this leak in the first few days of working together, basically. You know what I mean? So yeah, and this can be like in different phases. Like for example, you might classify your negative replies, and you might see that people who reply negatively also have some common characteristics that are not showing in people who reply positively. So you might just not email them again. You know what I mean? Or you might see that like people who have Microsoft inboxes are like not really replying positively because maybe you're not delivering to them well. You also have to like just segment them out. So like and like qualification criteria to the people who actually email has to be like pretty decent, I would say, because you don't want to email everyone. You want to email only people who are actually qualified to like qualified prospects, basically. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is like pretty expensive leak that always wants to be fixed. Another one, going straight for a demo. So sometimes I see people saying about campaigns and asking straight for a demo. Like for example, would 15 minutes this Thursday work, or like 15 minutes to chat this week? You know what I mean? And it can work, but it works only people who are in the buying window right now. Basically 3 to 5%, right? Trap. Only 5% are in the market now, and asking only for a demo just works on them. You know what I mean? So cost number one here is you write off the other 95% of the market just from the start, because like they don't want a demo because like you know what I mean, like they don't want to be sales pitched by a vendor, and that's like specifically applies like mostly to the software companies, right? But for software businesses as well, for service-based businesses as well. So yeah, just like don't do it. And cost number two is you knife fight every competitor for that 5%, because like if they're in the buying window, they research a bunch of your competitors already, and your competitors might have more trust, more social proof. Like for example, let's say prospect already has seen more content from them. They might have lower price, they might have better features than you, or just like some features that you don't have. You know what I mean? So yeah, just like make sure that number one, like you kind of have campaigns like for aware and unaware leads, but also make sure that you just don't go straight for demo, because like it kills a lot of people straight away, because you know what I mean, right? yeah, basically do better CTAs than that, or like better offers. Um, Another leak, which I see like very often whenever the client was doing outbound or like any other channel, attribution is like very important. Sometimes like with content you cannot really track attribution perfectly, or like with yeah, like there are small number of channels that you can do attribution perfectly, but most of the times you can do it at least somehow. And with cold email, it's actually pretty easy. You know what I mean? You can just track everyone who you ever emailed, and then after that, it's going to be pretty easy to wire everything else. Like whenever someone books a call or like signs up or like whatever is your sales process, you just like join it to everyone that you ever emailed on the like account level, on like company level, and that's pretty easy to track cold email, you know what I mean? And like outbound in general. So this specific client was about to kill the channels that actually worked for them. They thought the cold email like did basically 0 deals in like 60 days, but actually it get them 5 SQLs that were sitting in their CRM, and they did exactly what I described, like joined on the account level and connected everything that they like ever emailed, you know what I mean? And there were actually one closed one as well that they never saw. And kind of funny enough that with that closed one, they already kind of liquidated the whole cold email spend. So the channel was actually profitable for them, and there were like 4 other SQLs in their CRM, well, 5 basically. So yeah, like the numbers was in their CRM. They just like the person making the decision just wasn't seeing them. You know what I mean? Like they didn't have the data basically, and they weren't measuring it. So yeah, they were like about to cut the channels that actually worked. And this is like pretty common thing with cold email. And with that, like you want to use like website visitor identification, so you can also join who visits your website from an emails. You want to like have everything in like one source of truth, like for example your CRM, or like reviewops.com also like does pretty much similar thing, and there are some other softwares as well. Attribution is very important. Another leak also that I want to mention here, for understanding into a big market. Like I cannot stress this enough, guys. Like this is so common issue. Like I have just like some pretty common inputs here, like just as an example, so you can see the issues. Like this is pretty standard for like marketing agency or like whatever. And let's say your AUV, like average order value, is $5,000. Your LTV is $15,000. Your gross profit margin is 75%. You get one booked call for 5,000 emails. Well, one call show up, I should say, because for book call is like pretty bad, right? But for call meeting held is pretty like not that bad, I would say. So yeah, 20% close rate, and TAM is 500,000 companies, right? And let's go through the funnel. And what would it do if you just 3x the volumes that you are sending, right? So let's say with those metrics, you send 30K emails per month. You have 6 calls booked. You have 1.2 closes. Well, I should say like meetings held here, but like whatever. It's not the point. LTV booked is $18,000, and gross profit per month is 13.5K, right? On the channel. So yeah. But what would happen if you just 3x the volume, like send 90K instead of 30K? You like all the stuff would like 3x here, you know what I mean? So you have 18 calls booked, you have 3.6 closes, you have LTV booked 54K, and gross profit per month is 40K $500. So like everything just 3x, you know what I mean? And just as like disclaimer to you, the cost to send it won't 3x at all. Like it will actually be like maximum, like for example, to send 30K, I think it's like a little bit over 1,000. Well, maybe 1.5K total cost, not including labor, to be honest. But yeah, and to send 90K, it would be like 3K maybe. Well, of course, like if you include like labor costs and working with agency, it will be like more, but it won't be more than 10K here and 5K here for sure. So like, and the cost won't 3x. And like the conclusion here can be is that like same metrics but 27,000 more gross profit. And like it, of course, it applies only when like your total addressable market allows you. But this example is like when you have 500,000 total companies in your market, and it's like actually pretty common, believe it or not. But even if you have like 90K, then you can just hit everyone every month, you know what I mean? And it's still pretty much okay, because like you probably can't even name a single email that you received yesterday, or like, well, on this week. So yeah. But if I would be doing it for you and I would have this massive market, I would just hit everyone at least every 60 days. So I would send like 250 cold emails per month probably, or like even more than that, because we want to reach out to people, two emails sequence every 2 months, and there are like multiple people in the company usually that we can hit. So yeah. If your total addressable market allows, please send more emails. Like this is like the lowest hanging fruit if you will change nothing else. And most of the times it's actually like a good idea. Just like put more volume and that's it. You clear out 27K more a month, and the cost skyrockets only like by 2K maximum. You know what I mean? So yeah. Send more volume basically. Yes, those were like the leaks for today. Basically, one, two, basically, yeah. Let's go through this one together. Whenever we start working together, my number one goal is to give you ROI as soon as possible and find ways to make you more money, basically, right? Way number two is get the data you're not even measuring, that is important, and make decisions on that. Way number two is reframe the data you already have, which is also pretty important, right? And make some like quick conclusions and get like simple money out of the way as soon as possible, right? It's also like some common leaks with my clients, or like some other people that pay me like for consulting or something. But yeah, I'm sure like at least one of those you can do right away, basically. So the actual framework I run when I diagnose a client's outbound from scratch, what to fix and in what order, I'm not actually sharing here, right? Not in this video. When to scale with raw volume versus when to scale with segmentation plus signals. The judgment call that decides everything. Also not giving away in this video. And how all of this actually applies to your specific business. To get that, like book a call. Would love to break it down on first call free for you, like do some sort of an audit, if it helps. But yeah, this is like what actually my clients get. So yeah, want me to find this in your outbound, book a call down below, and would love to chat with you. Have an amazing day.